I believe everyone has already seen the plot of episode 6. In this episode, Donna suddenly collapses after suffering what appears to be a heart attack. Fortunately, she is rescued not long afterward. This moment was quite shocking. On the surface, it may seem like a simple plot point, but I think the writers deliberately used this event to reveal how the town itself operates. After Donna collapsed from fear, everyone in town fell into a state of panic. The entire atmosphere became extremely negative. Because of this, the town seemed to require a balance to be restored. The energy of the town needs to remain in equilibrium. That may be why, after the sheriff rallied everyone together, Donna was ultimately saved. Before Donna lost consciousness, the story once again emphasized that people who die in this place can become manifestations of nightmares. This idea was first introduced back in episode 2 during Sarah's storyline. Sarah's brother Nathan had been terrified of cicadas since childhood. After Nathan died, cicadas began appearing, seemingly reflecting his deepest fear. If the forest can transform fear into nightmares, then perhaps it can also transform hope into reality. I think this explains why Donna was able to survive despite nearly freezing to death. At that moment, the sheriff strongly believed that Donna's desire to live was powerful enough to bring her back. In a way, he may have called the frightened and dying Donna back from the edge. The doctor mentioned in episode 1 that this place not only wants to harm people, but also seems to help them at times. We can see evidence of this in how quickly the doctor's injuries healed. Meanwhile, inside the house, they discuss the new creature known as Bobo. This monster appears to be another nightmare brought into existence by the town itself. This is also one of the reasons Donna was so terrified. The town's residents are no longer dealing only with the night creatures. They now have to face a growing number of strange and unpredictable monsters. In my previous video, I was wondering why Bobo didn't attack anyone during its first 2 appearances. Now, we finally have an answer. It seems Bobo is an entirely new type of monster. Honestly, I was hoping to see Bobo fight against the night creatures. At this point, I genuinely have no idea how the humans are supposed to win. I suspect Jim survived his encounter with Bobo purely through luck. After the traveler was killed by Bobo, his body appeared to be transformed into a human-like version of the creature. What I still don't understand is how Bobo managed to stitch the body together so perfectly, despite not even having fingers. Don't ask me how. If you ask, the answer is probably just evil supernatural forces. My guess is that this traveler will eventually become one of Bobo's servants or followers. For now, his body has been placed inside the tool shed near Colony House. Honestly, I don't know what Donna was thinking. She carried the corpse back and left it right next to the community house. That gives me the feeling that this person is eventually going to come back to life, climb out, and start attacking people. Unfortunately, I did not find many useful clues in this episode. However, after carefully reviewing everything, I believe I have discovered 2 important details. Actually, it may even be 3. The first clue is that Sophia's relic appears to be fake. After Roger was transformed by Bobo and brought back to town, the story seems to be setting him up for a revival. Based on the direction of the plot, Roger will most likely return as a version of Bobo. At the same time, the townspeople also recovered the Scarecrow. We already know that the Scarecrow has the ability to harm or potentially kill Bobo. Because of this, I believe Donna intends to use the Scarecrow as a weapon against the monsters. At the very least, it is worth testing. It could also serve as a way to prevent Bobo from continuing to pursue the town. At the moment, Bobo does not appear to be on humanity's side. There was a moment when the creature approached someone and then simply turned around and walked away. Rather than helping humans, the scene actually made Bobo seem even more unpredictable and dangerous. If Bobo and the night creatures truly belong to the same side, then logically the Scarecrow should affect both of them. However, I think there is a different explanation. As I mentioned before, the Scarecrow and the protective talismans may originate from entirely different periods in the town's history. The Scarecrow appears to come from a later era than the talismans. The night creatures, on the other hand, may be the oldest monsters we have encountered so far. These creatures may have once been part of the original group of people trapped here when the town was first created. Over time, they transformed into what they are now. Bobo seems much newer by comparison. Its origins may be connected to events that occurred centuries later. Because of this, the Scarecrow may have been created specifically to deal with creatures like Bobo rather than the original night creatures. I believe the Scarecrow may have roots in African spiritual traditions. Its design resembles Nkisi Nkondi, a powerful spiritual ritual object used in Central African cultures. The name Nkondi roughly translates to hunter. Many people mistakenly think these figures are simply religious idols or voodoo dolls, but that is not their purpose. They were created as aggressive spiritual tools used to hunt and punish evil forces. This matches almost everything we have seen from the Scarecrow in the show. Traditionally, Nkisi and Nkondi figures were believed to contain spiritual power. When activated, that power would seek out and attack harmful spirits. In simple terms, they functioned as supernatural weapons. That is why I personally believe the Scarecrow may have been inspired by Nkisi and Nkondi. If we connect this idea to American history and the Age of Exploration, it is possible that the Scarecrow was created by people who carried these traditions with them into the New World. According to their ancestral beliefs, it may have been designed as a weapon against the evil entities living within the forest. But I think the writers are trying to express something much deeper than fear and hope. At its core, this story is about the strength that comes from people working together. This theme can actually be seen as early as Season 2. When the monsters attacked the town, one of the characters recalled something his father once said: "When you're standing on a single thread, it's difficult to see the entire sweater." This has always been one of my favorite quotes from the series. Imagine the town as a giant sweater. Each generation of people trapped here represents a single thread woven into that sweater. One group may never find a way home, but the things they do could help the people who arrive after them. Perhaps the Scarecrow is one of the defenses left behind by a previous generation. The talismans may have been left by an even older group, possibly even the earliest settlers. Everything these people did contributed to the survival of those who came later. The current residents may never escape, but their actions could become the reason that the next group eventually finds a way home. The final piece of information in this episode involves Sophia and Henry. Near the end of the episode, Sophia pours her own blood into Henry's drink. She seems to deliberately place something into his mind. At first, it appears to be nothing more than a dream or hallucination. However, I'm beginning to worry that Henry could become the next Abby. He may eventually start killing people. The reason this concerns me is because we have heard almost the exact same words before. Back in Season 2, while inside the prison, Martin said something very similar to the sheriff. Martin cut himself and transferred his blood into the sheriff. Now Sophia has done essentially the same thing to Henry. Even more interestingly, Martin and the man in yellow both seem to use similar language and ideas. Because of this, I am beginning to suspect that Martin may have been connected to the man in yellow all along, or perhaps was even one of his disguises. One of the most important lines repeated throughout the series is, "None of this feels real, does it?" Have you ever wondered if maybe this isn't a dream? The frightening thing is that everyone who starts believing this place is only a dream eventually becomes dangerous. They begin to lose their grip on reality. Instead of treating the people around them as real human beings, they start seeing them as part of an illusion. And once that happens, violence usually follows. We still do not know whether the town is truly a dream or something else entirely, but every character who becomes convinced that it is a dream eventually turns against the survivors around them. If Henry follows the same path, then the sheriff may be forced to shoot him, just as he was forced to shoot Abby. If that happens, Victor could completely fall apart emotionally. After all, Henry has become one of the few people who understands Victor better than anyone else. Losing him would be devastating. So what do you think? Will Henry become the second Abby? At the end of the episode, after listening to Shenfu's advice, the sheriff immediately begins breaking through the wall, confirming that Jade's theory may actually be correct. Jade has developed a new theory based on the visions he has been experiencing. In one of those visions, he saw the remains of children hidden inside stone containers. He believes these remains serve as anchors for the children's souls. According to his theory, if the forest town was created through the sacrifice of children's souls, then those remains may be the foundation upon which the entire place exists. If that foundation is removed, the town itself could collapse. For that reason, Jade wants to dig up the children's remains and take them away. However, I have a feeling things are not nearly that simple. Something about this theory feels suspicious. It may even be a trap. Underneath the settlement house lies a tunnel system connected to the area where the monsters live. If access to those tunnels is really this easy, then someone could potentially enter the settlement house without without much difficulty. The sheriff even helped open the passage by breaking down the wall. Considering the seemingly omniscient abilities of the man in yellow, there is no way he doesn't know what Jade and the sheriff are doing. That's why I suspect the latter half of Jade's vision may have been deliberate misinformation. Either the man in yellow already has a way to stop them, or he intentionally wants them to follow this path. The residents of the town have already learned an important lesson. The truth always comes with a price. Because of that, I believe the man in yellow fully intends to make them pay for uncovering the truth. And if that is the case, then the settlement house is almost certainly going to be attacked. The question is, how? My personal theory is that Roger will be the key. The doll-like version of Roger may eventually be revived by Sophia and used as a weapon against the settlement house. There is a scene in the preview where Sophia bends down as though she is speaking to someone. By comparing the windows and doorway structure, it appears that she is standing in the same tool shed where Donna stored both the Scarecrow and Roger's body. That location is important because it contains more than just tools. It also stores a large supply of firearms. If Roger is revived, there is a strong possibility that he could gain access to those weapons. We have already seen something similar happen before. At the end of Season 2, a resident suffered a mental breakdown, stole a gun from that very storage area, and attempted to kill the sheriff. Because of this, I believe Roger may eventually return armed and dangerous. Near the end of the episode, the sheriff says they still need a plan. I think that plan is fairly obvious. They intend to lure the monsters away from the settlement house. While the creatures are distracted outside at night, Jade and the sheriff will sneak into the tunnels in search of the children's remains. At the same time, they may use the Scarecrow as part of an experiment to test its effectiveness against the monsters. In the preview, Kenny can be seen standing outside the diner. My guess is that he will serve as bait, drawing the monsters toward him and away from the others. While everyone is focused on that operation, Roger, revived by the man in yellow, may suddenly appear with a gun and completely disrupt the plan. He could even storm into the settlement house and attack the residents inside. And that's where my analysis ends for this episode. Thank you all for watching.